When you travel around Europe, it's hard to overestimate the impact that American culture has had on European culture, whether it's the music that people are listening to, or the films they watch, or even the foods that they eat. And to me, this shows how important and how complicated the relationship between the United States and Europe is, and how it permeates almost every single level of society, from politics to even how people live their everyday life. This relationship is especially interesting when you look at it from Berlin, because you see physical markers in the landscape of this Atlantic relationship. On the one hand, certain symbols that are very much pro-American, and on the other hand, graffiti or signs that are very much against American power. My name is Madeleine Schwartz. I'm a French-American journalist, and I wrote the article on Atlanticism for The Guardian. The article looks at the relationship between the United States and Europe and asks, how long have the United States and Europe been allies, and how long has this relationship been difficult? People really do talk about it as a relationship. He never calls her back. He's distant. We don't know what he's thinking. And I thought, I know what that kind of relationship is, and it's not a very good one. Inherent in this idea of Atlanticism is the idea that these two continents share something special, special values, special culture, and that together they can bring these ideas to the rest of the world. Unfortunately, despite the history of this relationship, we can't expect that it'll always stay the same. On both sides of the Atlantic, I think many people are worried that this relationship is not very strong and worried about the consequences of that. One thing that we see very much now is an increase in a need or desire to have one's own personal identity tied to a national identity. And unfortunately, the fact that allyships among countries are getting more difficult only reinforces that. The current American administration, despite whatever you may think about it, is not solely responsible for the decline in transatlantic relations. In fact, that decline began a long time ago. This relationship has always been one of crisis and instability and a sense of endangerment throughout almost its entire history. I'm trying to start a new magazine, a magazine of politics and culture for millennials. The best writers and reporters of my generation are not being published, or they're being published in places where their work is not being seen. And I think that in this moment where the world order seems so unstable, it's a really good time for us as journalists and also as civilians to ask, what are the values that we care about? What is the culture that we care about? And how do we want to move those values forward and bring them to a next generation?